The Christmas tree lights flickered almost mockingly in our grand dining room, casting long shadows over the elegant tablecloth. My father had just finished his annual speech about success, and I sat there silently, pushing my turkey around my plate, trying to ignore the dull ache in my chest. And of course, he continued, lifting his crystal wine glass, let's congratulate Michael for another record-breaking year with our hotels. The Princeton Group is still dominating the luxury hospitality market. Michael, my 32-year-old brother, grinned and straightened his designer tie. He was the golden child, the chosen heir. Our family empire owned 15 luxury hotels across the country, each one more extravagant than the last. Speaking of success, my mother added, her diamond bracelet sparkling as she poured herself more wine. Diana, darling, isn't it time to give up your silly consulting business? The marketing director role at the Princeton is still waiting for you. I tightened my grip on my fork. At 29, I had spent the last 2 years building my own hospitality consulting firm from scratch, not that anyone at this table seemed to care. My business is doing fine, Mom, I said calmly. I actually signed a major client just last week. Michael snorted into his glass. Let me guess, another cute little roadside motel, maybe a struggling bed and breakfast? Actually, I began, but my father cut me off. Diana, he sighed, using that patronizing tone I'd learned to despise. Still chasing your childish dreams. When will you learn? Hospitality isn't for dreamers, it's for serious players, like your brother. Each word felt like a slap, but I kept my expression neutral. They didn't know about the properties I had been quietly buying under shell companies. They didn't know I'd been orchestrating a takeover while they ridiculed my tiny consulting firm. You know, Michael continued smugly, we just bought that boutique hotel chain in California. 30 properties, just like that. He snapped his fingers. What have you acquired lately, Diana? A new coffee maker for your office? Laughter erupted around the table. Even my mother's new husband, Ted, who'd been in the family for only 6 months, joined in. Then my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Sarah Collins, my acquisitions lead. My heart raced as I answered. Yes, I said, keeping my voice steady. Sarah's voice came clear and professional. Should we proceed with buying their hotel chain? The Princeton Group stocks just hit your target price. The table fell silent as they strained to listen. I stood up slowly, making sure every word carried. Yes, go ahead, initiate protocol echo. My father's fork clattered against his plate. What did you say about the Princeton Group? I smiled, thinking of all those board meetings I attended under different aliases, the shares I accumulated through different firms, the loyal staff I had quietly recruited. Oh, nothing important, I replied lightly, just some business updates. Diana, my father's voice no longer sounded mocking, it trembled with something close to fear. What exactly does your consulting firm do? Before I could answer, Michael's phone rang, then my father's, then several more. The Princeton Group's emergency alert system was working exactly as I designed it. Michael's face drained of color as he read his screen. Dad, he whispered, someone's buying up all the shares. The price is skyrocketing. Impossible, my father snapped, but his hands shook as he checked the stock ticker. Who would dare? Who even could? My phone buzzed again. This time, I answered on speaker. Yes, Sarah. Phase 1 complete. Miss Princeton, we now own 51% of the Princeton Group shares. Should I call the emergency board meeting? My mother's wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the hardwood floor. The sharp sound echoed in the silence, like the start of an avalanche. I looked around the table, savoring the shock on each of their faces, the moment I'd spent 2 years planning for. Yes, Sarah, schedule the meeting for tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. sharp. I paused, letting my next words cut through the stunned silence. Let's show them exactly what this pathetic dreamer can do. The Christmas tree lights suddenly seemed brighter, almost celebratory. This holiday was about to get very interesting. The chaos that erupted was almost theatrical. Michael shot up so fast he knocked his chair over, frantically calling his business partners. My father's face turned crimson as he barked orders into his phone. My mother looked between us, her expression oscillating between betrayal and panic. Stop, my father roared, his voice echoing across the room. Diana, explain yourself, now. I leaned back in my chair, calm and collected. What's there to explain? I saw an opportunity and I took it. Isn't that what you always taught us, Dad? Be a player, not a dreamer. This isn't possible, Michael stammered, His designer tie ask you, you don't have this kind of money, you couldn't possibly. Actually, I interrupted, pulling out my tablet, let me show you exactly what's possible when you underestimate someone for years. I projected my presentation onto the dining room wall, right beside the family portraits they treasured so much. 2 years ago, while you all mocked my consulting firm, I was securing international investors. That so-called pathetic business, just a front. Slide after slide appeared on the wall, acquisition reports, property portfolios, financial charts. With each slide, their faces paled further. Those bed and breakfasts you joked about, Michael, strategically placed near Princeton hotels to siphon off clients, those motels on the highway, key distribution hubs for my future expansion. While you bragged at galas, I was quietly building an empire that will redefine this industry. My father slammed his palm onto the table. You went behind our backs. You betrayed your own family. Family? I laughed, though there was no warmth in it. Was I family when you excluded me from board meetings? When you gave Michael my project proposals and claimed they were his? When you warned the industry to avoid me because I was just your confused daughter? Phones started ringing again. News was spreading fast. The mighty Princeton Group, the untouchable giant, was under siege from an unknown force. My mother finally found her voice. Diana, sweetheart, we can talk about this, whatever issues you have. Issues? I stood, my chair scraping sharply against the floor, like Dad blocking my promotion because it would outshine Michael, or when you sabotaged my relationship with James because he was just a hotel manager. James? Michael's head jerked up. James Morrison? Yes, the same James who now runs my European division. I smiled as Michael's face crumbled. He sends his regards, says the view from his CEO office in London is spectacular. My phone buzzed again. Miss Princeton, Sarah's voice came through loud and clear, filling the dining room. The board is confirmed for tomorrow. Also, Mr. Morrison is on the line from London. Put him through. Diana, James's voice rang out, steady and warm. Phase 2 is ready. All international properties are aligned. Should we proceed with the restructuring announcements? I glanced at my father. He finally understood. This wasn't just a hostile takeover. This was a total transformation. James, release the statements, and please, join us for tomorrow's board meeting. It's time for a proper reunion. When I ended the call, I looked back at them. They sat frozen, Christmas dinner forgotten, their carefully curated world crumbling around them. Tomorrow, I said, gathering my tablet and coat, the hospitality world will wake up to some big news. The Princeton Group isn't just getting a new owner, it's getting a new vision, new leadership, and a future beyond anything you ever imagined. You can't do this, Michael croaked, but his voice was empty. I paused at the doorway, turning back with a smile. Oh, and about that marketing director position? I tilted my head. I think I'll pass. CEO has a much nicer ring to it. As I stepped out, I heard my mother break into sobs and my father's ragged breathing. For the first time in years, I felt nothing but clarity. Tomorrow would be the real beginning. The next morning, the Princeton Group boardroom looked different from this side of the table. I sat at the head, watching the executives shuffle in at 8:45 a.m. My father and Michael arrived last, rumpled and hollow-eyed, their usual polished composure gone. Good morning, I said, my voice carrying firmly across the room. Please take your seats, we have a lot to discuss. James appeared on the big screen behind me, joining from London. He gave me a small nod, a silent promise that we had arrived exactly where we were meant to be. Everything was ready. I opened my laptop and looked around the room. Let me formally introduce myself, I began, my voice steady. Many of you know me as Diana Princeton, founder of Phoenix Hospitality Consulting, but today, I stand before you as CEO of Global Hospitality Ventures, which now holds controlling interest in the Princeton Group. A ripple of shocked murmurs spread through the boardroom. My father's fists tightened on the polished table. For the past 2 years, I continued, clicking to the first slide, my team has analyzed every corner of this company. What we discovered was, frankly, disappointing. Slides flashed on the screen, declining guest satisfaction, outdated infrastructure, shrinking market shares. The Princeton Group has been resting on its legacy while the world moved forward. You ignored new markets, dismissed emerging technology, and clung to a hierarchy that valued loyalty over actual competence. Michael started to interrupt, but I raised a hand sharply. I'm not finished. James, please share the European data. James appeared on the large screen, presenting graphs showing a 40% jump in efficiency and guest satisfaction at our European properties after implementing our new systems. This, I said, gesturing toward the screen, is the future of hospitality, not gold faucets and overpriced minibars, but seamless experiences, sustainability, and genuine innovation. Now, see here, my father finally exploded, rising from his chair. You can't just come in here and… Actually, I interrupted coolly, I can, and I'm not just coming in, I'm transforming this company from the ground up. I pressed a button. Instantly, documents loaded onto every executive's tablet. Effective immediately, there will be major changes to the executive structure. Panic rippled through the room as people scrolled through the files. My father collapsed back into his chair, ashen. Michael Princeton, I announced over the chaos, you are removed as CEO. Your role will be assumed by Sarah Collins, who has consistently demonstrated superior leadership and vision. Michael's mouth opened and closed, no words forming. Richard Princeton, I continued, turning to my father, you are relieved as chairman. You will be offered a non-executive advisory board seat, if you choose to accept. A heavy silence settled over the room. You're destroying everything I built, my father whispered. No, I corrected, my voice unwavering, I'm saving it. The world changed, but you refuse to see it. I stood up, commanding the room's attention. To everyone else here, your roles will now be evaluated on merit, not tenure or family ties. Those who embrace this new direction will thrive. Those who don't. I let the sentence hang. Well, that's your decision. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. Miss Princeton, Sarah's voice came through the speaker, calm and clear. The press releases are ready. Wall Street is waiting. Release them, I ordered. Instantly, phones began buzzing around the table. News alerts flashed. The Princeton Group stock price surged as investors welcomed our bold modernization plan. One last thing, I said, turning back to my father and brother, those lavish Christmas dinners you loved so much, from now on, they'll be hosted at community centers supported by our hotels. Consider it a lesson in humility, and a reminder of what real hospitality means. 3 months later, I stood in the penthouse suite of our flagship hotel, watching the city lights stretch into the distance. The transformation had surpassed even my expectations. Our sustainable practices received international awards. Employee satisfaction had skyrocketed. Our market value had doubled. My phone buzzed, a message from James. London properties breaking records again. Your father finally signed the advisory board agreement. I smiled, remembering that fateful Christmas dinner. My father and Michael eventually learned. They even attended the first community center dinner, awkward at first, but present. My mother surprised me most. She volunteered to help serve meals. As I looked out over the city, I knew this was just the beginning, not just for the Princeton Group, but for me.